Hello everyone, this is part 27 of What If Naruto and Hinata trained together and a spark happened, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Rock Lee wore an expression of annoyance as he disassembled his quarterstaff and replaced the individual weights back in his arm and leg bands. I was under the impression the Akatsuki were a dangerous group, he stated, but this display makes me wonder if their reputation is exaggerated. It isn't. Shikamaru shook his head. I don't know about these guys, but Hidden alone was as strong as a normal ninja squad. This was a Harrier unit. Temari recalled the intelligence report. The Akatsuki has too many bandit and mercenary recruits for their rogue ninjas to train them completely. So instead they give them more specialized training. A Harrier group is a 16-man squad designated to use speed and stealth to delay and distract the enemy. But they are only supposed to go up against a tradition 4-man ninja squad, so we had them outnumbered and outmatched. Shino extracted a whistle and recalled the Baikotsu. The beetle had continued to track Naruto, heedless of the battle. We should have left one alive, to interrogate, Kaidi sighed. Next time, Kankuro suggested agreeably. We need to get moving, Sakura insisted, as their insect guide reappeared. When this group doesn't report in, they'll have our location. The other shinobi nodded, and the rescue team set out again. Lady Tsunade, can I have a word in private? Kakashi asked carefully. The Hokage had just informed the 5 Jonin of the situation and their new mission. She instructed them to go to the tech ninjas and determine if they could locate the cell phones of any of their students. As the others turned to leave, the copy ninja instead stepped closer to the Sanin's desk. Tsunade nodded, and said, the rest of you go ahead. Kakashi will meet you. What's on your mind? She asked after Anko closed the door. Kakashi met her gaze with an odd mixture of self-recrimination and determination. I would like you to remove me from this mission, he said directly. Why? She asked, curious but also close to losing her temper. I'm worried that about Rei, he explained. I don't think I should leave her right now. The Hokage relaxed, almost amused. Kakashi, I'm glad you're bonding with the girl, she told him, but don't you think you're taking this overprotective parent thing too far? That's not. His denial died off, and he shrugged in acquiescence. That's not the only reason. The Akatsuki work in pairs. If we assume that the Reaper is Zetsu's partner, then we're still one short. According to Hinata, Deidara was here, but his partner Tobi was not. But what if Tobi did come with them? What if he is waiting for us to get distracted and deplete our forces on the rescue mission, so he can take Rei back? Tsunade considered that. The argument was not unreasonable, it was the sort of thing the Sannin would have tried, back in the day. I want to save Naruto, Kakashi waffled, but with those kids out there, we have already sent out a substantial force. I'm not sure I'm needed there, but I am needed here. This is the Akatsuki, she reminded him. I doubt either of us could take on Madara single-handed, and the same probably applies for Pain. So these kids will need help they can get. The best help they can get. And time is of essence. Kakashi nodded, clearly torn. I'll tell you what, Tsunade smirked at her own genius. Jiraiya has been milking his injury for a bit too long. So in return for letting him stay in the hospital a bit longer, I'll have him protect Rei while you are gone. And I'll also have Shizune there the whole time to babysit the both of them. Will that satisfy you? Yes, Lady Tsunade, he grinned ever so slightly, thank you. Good, then get out of here, she ordered, unable to keep a touch of worry out of her voice. Go save our nephew. Having your head clear while still being unconscious is a bizarre sensation, but Naruto experienced it as he suddenly became aware that he was sitting in the field of flowers illusion, facing the fox. What's going on? He asked. What am I doing here? It looks like the poison is finally wearing off, the QB commented, oddly subdued. It's just a medical sedative that's keeping you under now. There was someone here earlier, Naruto noted vaguely. Madara Uchiha, the demon agreed. What? He shouted. How? Why? Settle down, she cautioned. Madara removed the zodiac seal, so if we upset the balance here, the 8 trigram seal will pop back up, and we'll be in that stinking sewer again. You remember you were captured by the Akatsuki, right? Naruto nodded, recalling Zetsu poisoning him, and not much else. He also had the memories of the blood clones, the clone that forced Hinata to escape and the two that were destroyed by Deidara and the Reaper. Well, Madara removed your girlfriend's seal, the Vixen informed him, and it feels like they're starting to do something to the Hokage's seal. Isn't there anything we can do? Naruto stared at her. The fox chuckled, this is my chance for freedom. For now, I'm just going to sit back and wait for them to make a mistake. Naruto glared at the demon, but there was nothing more he could do. The Baikotsu led them straight to the ocean, and Shino had to call it back as the insect started to fly across the water. Now what? Kiba asked Hinata and Sakura, trying to sound like he wasn't blaming them. We can't cross the ocean on foot, we'd run out of chakra. Shino, can you make the Baikotsu follow the shoreline? Choji asked. We don't need to do that, Tenten said happily. Neji, if you could give me a boost. He nodded, and placed his hand on her shoulder, augmenting her chakra supply with his own. Tenten sliced her left thumb with her fingernails, and then spread the blood to the digits on her opposite hand. Neji followed her as she kneeled. Ninja arts, summoning jutsu, she announced, and a large seal spread out from her hand. Then smoke erupted and a large tortoise occupied a substantial portion of the shore. The shelled reptile was not quite as large as Katsuyu or Gamabunta, but due to her natural armor, weighed as much as the toad and the slug combined. She rotated around slowly, until she could see the shinobi. Good morning, Tenten, she said in a high-pitched, pleasant voice, what can I do for you this fine day? Not so fine, Kamiko, the weapons expert shook her head, though good morning anyway. We are trying to rescue a kidnapped comrade, and the trail leads across this bay. Can you transport us? Is that all? The tortoise smiled and did an approximation of a shrug, nothing easier. She turned to the water, and walked into the surf, faster than her kind's unhurried reputation would have suggested. Kamiko continued until only her eyes and the top quarter of her shell were visible. Climb on, she directed, her voice bubbling out of the brine. The rescue party quickly complied. They found ridges on the top of her shell, almost like handholds. Which way? Their ride asked. Shino released the tracking beetle again. Follow that bug, Tenten answered. Okay, hold on. With a speed that easily matched the previous overland rush, the summoned tortoise darted through the water, leaving the shore of the land of forests behind. Madara finished his nap, and left Tobi's room intent on finding a status update. To his slight surprise, two were waiting for him. First he saw the head scientist, and briefly made note to someday learn her name. The researcher was glaring at the person next to his door. He turned his head and recognized Mayuko, standing in a guard position outside his quarters. Both women turned to stare at him anxiously. What's up? He asked innocently. Mayuko would not let me speak with you, the scientist tattled. Well, I was asleep, so I probably would not have heard you, he told her dryly. You know what I mean, she snapped angrily, then she paled and continued worriedly, there is a problem with the extraction. What problem? Tobi asked dangerously. When you removed the Zodiac seal, it damaged the 8 trigrams seal, she explained. We will either have to slow down to play it safe, or go faster and take the risk. I don't understand, he frowned vocally, why do we have to go faster or slower? Because of the damage, the risk function has shifted, she told them. There is a point where the function dips, and the risk increases severely. That dip used to be centered around 56 hours, but now it is centered around 93 hours. What's the risk? He queried thoughtfully. Right now the top of the first crest is right around 2 days, and carries a 77% chance of success, she recalled. Otherwise, if we want the 95% chance that Lord Payne signed off on, it will take more than 6 days. For now, go with the 2-day schedule. I will contact Lord Payne to confirm this, he instructed her, though the second part was a lie. Inside Tobi, Madara had already made his decision. The expert nodded her understanding, and hurried off. Tobi turned his attention to the Shochunen rebel with a deep sigh. Was there something you wanted, Mayuko? He asked the young woman. Yes, Lo. Tobi, she said quickly, I have news. And, he prompted. Harrier team number 3 from the Deep Woods base was wiped out. Team number 2 found them, and while they are not forensic experts, they believe the third squad was wiped out on the initial pass-through attack. The dead were all cut down, but whether that is slang or an indication of actual slashing attacks is unclear. She finally paused for breath, waiting for her superior's reaction. He pondered briefly, there are Leaf Shinobi who could potentially take out an entire Harrier squad in a single attack. Given the current situation, the two Hyuga teens and Tenten spring to mind. If the Kazekige's sister is with them, she could do so as well, the renegade teen from the Land of Snow suggested. He looked at her directly, and continued, we need to determine who we are facing. Instruct the remaining Harrier teams that their priority is to determine the members of this rescue team. They are not to attack until they report back descriptions of the enemy shinobi. Is there anything else? No, sir, she said, bowing, before disappearing. He thought about it after she was gone, and wondered if the specialized bandits would be up to the task. After over 4 hours on the water, just after noon, the giant tortoise dropped him off on an empty shore in the Land of Lightning. Tenten thanked the reptile profusely, before returning her home. Shino quickly caught up the beetle, and put a few drops of nectar in his hand for the tracking insect. How is she? Hinata asked, recognizing the slight furrowing in her former teammate's brow. Not well, Aburame answered sadly, not only is she approaching the end of her lifespan, but she has never flown this far before. Are you sure she's leading us in the right direction? Kiba queried carefully. When Sakura and Ino both glared at him, he elaborated, I mean, why would Zetsu go under the ocean, instead of heading straight into the Land of Lightning? It seems like he could be leading us on a wild goose chase. He was avoiding the Land of Silver, Temari explained, they have a variety of underground sensors, both to detect invaders and to protect against seismic instabilities in the mines. If Naruto's captor had gone through there, the Hidden Mines ninjas would have certainly heard him. And the leader of the Hidden Mines village has a grudge against the Akatsuki for some reason. If he found Zetsu, he would relay that to the Hokage and Reikage as quickly as he could. And that is why it was a good idea to bring the liaison officer between the leaf and the sand, Kaidi murmured under her breath. Then the Mist Ninja addressed the darker blonde directly. So what can you tell us about the Akatsuki bases in the Land of Lightning? The Mizukage's daughter prompted the Kazekige's sister. Not much. Temari looked apologetic, the Cloud Ninjas have not been very forthcoming with information, and neither the Konoha or Suna have been able to get anyone close. I know that Stratosphere is the base close to the Hidden Cloud Village, while the Canyon of Dawn is in the mountains further north, near the western shores of the Land of Lightning. Beyond that, they are a mystery. Is the Baikotsu ready? Sakura asked, anxiously. I would rather let her rest for a few hours, Shino answered softly, but I also understand time is of the essence. Is there anything we can do to help? Neji asked. No, but thank you for asking, the insect raiser answered. We can spare a half hour or so, Shikamaru noted with a false expression of apathy. After all, it won't do us any good if we run the beetle into the ground, so to speak. Then we'd have to guess where they took Naruto. The others nodded their approval. Choji broke out some of the venison they had smoked the previous night, and bit into it worriedly. Sasam began to recheck her needles and threads. Rock Lee sat with his legs crossed staring at the Baikotsu as if to send the beetle his strength. The others milled about, to wound up to eat or rest. Before any of the other shinobi recognized she was moving, Hinata raced into the forest at the edge of the beach. Even as her allies started to react, a deep, masculine howl of pain reached their ears. The clash of metal on metal met Sasam and Lee, the first two to reach the tree line. Both saw Hinata block another sword strike with Ginmaki, before slipping in, and lightly tapping her opponent's chest, stopping his heart. The warrior joined his two fallen comrades on the dirt, while a fourth stealth-garbed warrior moved in to try to strike Hinata. As the white-eyed woman raised her arm to ward him off, the Akatsuki minion was stopped cold by the 4 shurikens Tenten buried deep in his chest. Sasam locked up a fifth enemy, anchoring him between 2 nearby trees with her threads, but mindful of Kaidi's earlier warning, she left the cord slack enough that they neither throttled the converted bandit, nor sliced into his skin. The remaining interceptors broke and ran. The getting away, Hinata shouted, as the rest of the rescue squad joined them. They are splitting up, Neji noted, his Byakugan also active, 2 heading north, 1 northeast, 2 northwest, 3 more or less west, but 1 is solo and the other 2 are a pair. And the last 2 are heading southwest. Lee, go after. Hold up, Shikamaru interrupted the Leaf Jonan's orders, that's what they want. We're supposed break ranks to follow them. It will cost us time, and make it easier for them to lead us into an ambush. Shikamaru's right, of course, Ino agreed. Besides, this time we have a prisoner we can question. As the majority of the group rounded on the spider-webbed renegade, Hinata's thoughtful look caught Temari's attention. What is it? The Sand Kunoiki asked. When I noticed them, they were just watching us, the Hyuga heiress answered. Why didn't they attack right away, like the first group? Temari looked contemplative, over the sound of Rock Lee cracking his knuckles theatrically. Tobi and Deidara had taken over the conference room, and were going over the latest batch of rumors and reports about the whereabouts of the Jinchuriki of the Six Tails Chameleon. The former hidden grass Kunoiki was particularly hard to track. Her demon afforded her the power to change her shape at will, indefinitely, and without expending any chakra. The only limitation appeared to be the confines of the human form itself. While this did not have combat applications of sand control or regeneration, it had allowed her to slip through the Akatsuki's fingers again and again. They set aside a report of a woman in the land of Earth who lost weight and suddenly changed her hair color, but before they could look at the next file, Mayuko burst into the room. The young woman wore an expression of both fear and expectancy. Lord Tobi, Lord Deidara, in her excitement she forgot to leave the "la" off Tobi's name. We have a report from the 4th Harrier team from this base. They lost 5 men on the southern seaboard, but the survivors have sent back a description of the rescue team. Based on what they saw, we know who most of the attackers are. And Deidara demanded. Tobi mouthed the word, most, but didn't interrupt his hot-headed partner. And they saw 14 individuals and 1 dog, she told them, assuming the Harriers didn't make any mistakes in the descriptions. We are facing Hinata Hyuga, Sakura Haruno, Neji Hyuga, Tenten, Rock Lee, Shino Aberame, Kiba Inazuka and Akamaru, Sasam Fuma, Shikamaru Nara, Ino Yamanaka, Choji Akamaiki, Temari, and Kankuro. Wait, that's only 13, Tobi said, recognizing the vicious joy in Mayuko's voice when she said Sakura's name. Who is the last one? We haven't been able to identify her, the rogue Chunin admitted. She is described as a woman about the same height as Temari with long white hair. Other than that, all the scouts could offer was vague comments about a perfect face and an amazing, or stunning, body in between drooling. Was she wearing a leaf symbol? Deidara asked. That's not in the report. Mayuko stepped away from the bomber and closer to Tobi as she admitted the omission, but we checked against both leaf and sand personnel. Go check against Mist Shinobi, the explosive artist ordered. That sounds like it could be the face herself. Mayuko did not move, and Deidara glared at her. What else? Tobi prompted gently, realizing the girl was expecting to be a sacrificial messenger. But she was skilled, and Madara found her crush on his alter ego both useful and entertaining, so he was not about to let Deidara kill her. I also have a report of teams leaving the Sand, Leaf, and Mist villages, she relayed. Normally this would not raise an eyebrow, except that each team left at the same time, and they all seem to be heading this way. Also, though we don't have a clear picture of the group from the Hidden Mist, the Leaf and Sand teams appear to be composed of 5 Jonin rank ninjas. And the Sand team is being led by the Kazekage. Reinforcements, Tobi concluded. This could be problematic, with our forces spread so thin. He looked to his partner in a false plea for help, but the firebug grinned viciously, stating, Lord Pain left you in charge, you deal with it. Fine. A tiny bit of Madara crept into Tobi's voice, and both of the younger rogues shuddered without fully understanding why. Mayuko, send word to Stratosphere and Deep Forest, he ordered firmly, his fake personality restored. I want them to send whatever reinforcements they can. Particularly Chunin or higher-ranked warriors. Strip those 2 bases down to minimal operating personnel. Then direct all Harrier groups to the midpoint between where Neji's group was spotted and this base. The job is to hold the first rescue team off for as long as they can, in any way they can. The young woman nodded, and hurried out. You are taking this too seriously, Deidara admonished after the girl had left, having just enough respect for Tobi not to chastise him in the presence of an underling. Yeah, those kids are close, but they're just that, kids. A bunch of Chunin and a couple of Jonin. That group is still at least 4 hours away, and the real threat is almost 16 hours behind them. Longer if the Harriers can do their jobs. You don't get it, Tobi shook his head. Rank doesn't necessarily equate to strength. One of those Chunin even figured out a way to kill hidden. On top of that, those kids are all Uzumaki's friends. They'll fight tooth and nail to get him back. Plus we have to defend the demon god statue while it is here for the extraction. Which gives me an idea. Well, Choji asked as Kaidi returned to the rest of the group. She readjusted her shozaku, so it did not reveal so much of her cleavage or bind so much at her waist. The seductress did not fail to notice Kiba and Kankuro's interest, but she changed her costume from interrogation mode to combat mode nonetheless. He didn't know much, she informed them, he was just a low-level flunky. They have Harrier groups scouring the countryside for us, with orders to report back on who we are. He was sent out from the Canyon of Dawn base, but he can't confirm that's where Naruto is. He did say his home base was on high alert, but so was the Land of Forests base when they were in contact with that hideout. Was. Tenten frowned, past tense. Did you kill him? No, I just hit him with a tale of drugs and genjutsu to erase his mind, the Mist Ninja answered. Unless someone releases him from the illusion, he'll spend the rest of his life thinking he's a fisherman. Sasum recovered her threads, and the former bandit slumped to the ground, asleep. Shino released the Baikotsu again, and the team took off after the tracking bug. Gaara's team is going to try to meet us when we reach the Land of Forests, Kakashi informed the team, hanging up his phone. We'll take a break then, since the Sand Ninjas are moving double time to catch up. And the Mist team will meet us southeast of the Hidden Cloud Village. Do we still have a trace of Shikamaru's phone? Guy queried boisterously. The 5 Jonin were running in a wedge formation, Kakashi leading in the center, with Iruka and Anko on his left, and Yugao and Guy on his right. Yes, the copy ninja nodded, they are about 5 miles inland in the Land of Lightning, and moving north. It looks like they are heading for the base the Akatsuki call the Canyon of Dawn. The next attack occurred 3 hours later, just after the rescue team had taken another break for their aging tracker. After that, the groups of retrained bandits struck frequently. Every hour or two the team was accosted by a Harrier squad, or in one case 2 squads together. Though they proved no match for Naruto's friends, the rogues served their purpose, slowing and tiring the teens. By nightfall they had barely reached the edge of the mountain range containing the Akatsuki base they hoped held Naruto Uzumaki. This led to a brief schism in the group as to whether they should continue or make camp. Hinata and Sakura wanted to continue, while Kankuro, Kiba, and Choji advocated resting. Even Ino, almost as gung-ho as Naruto's teammates, wanted to take a break. They appeared to be at an impasse, until Shikamaru stepped in. The genius Chunin pointed out that the longer they waited, the more chance the Akatsuki had to prepare the defenses, and to send more cannon fodder out to fight them. Given Shikamaru's well-known sedentary nature, the arguments carried additional weight, and the others relented. The canyon was an extinct riverbed, winding its way through the mountains in a generally east-to-west path. The ninjas continued for another hour, until well after the sun had set. Then they encountered a split in the chasm, 3 separate paths each still leading more or less east. Now what? Sasum asked carefully, not wanting to start another debate. We need to scout ahead, Lee announced. Perhaps someone can send out some shadow clones. We should conserve our chakra. Shino shook his head. I will send out my forerunners to determine which path is correct. The others all settled to wait, while Shino sent a handful of bugs down each ravine. Except for Hinata, who paced, her Byakugan active to watch for the insect's return. After watching her for a few minutes, Sakura walked over to Hinata, and gently grabbed her rival's shoulder to stop the white-eyed woman. Hinata, you need to relax, the medic advised strongly, you want to be at your best, right? Don't waste your energy or your chakra. But we're so close, the pale beauty retorted, I can feel it. All the more reason to take advantage of this break, the pink-haired explained, then she frowned commandingly, or do I need to put you to sleep again? That won't be necessary, Neji interceded, Shino is done. Aberrane collected his spies, and assimilated what the insects had seen. The others gathered around him to wait for his news. So which one is it? Ino asked when Shino finally lifted his head. All of them, the insect user answered flatly. Each chasm proceeds for 8 or 9 miles, before being blocked by a heavy wall and gate. Beyond that they widen, and eventually merge again after another 5 miles. Not far beyond that there is a large fortress built into the base of an old waterfall cliff. Presumably that is our goal. So what do we do? Temari asked Hinata, turning their attention back to their inconsistently acknowledged leader, split up or take one route as a team. We break for 6 hours, Naruto's girlfriend decided, split into 4 watch teams so we can each get a few hours sleep. Once we're recovered, we'll split up and hit them while they're sleeping. The field in their shared mindscape rumbled, and Naruto glanced around in concern. What was that? He blurted out. The Hokage's seal is starting to crack, and it is absorbing the remnants of your little girlfriend's seal. As the demon answered, Naruto realized he could see the metal bars separating them once again, though only dimly, and the rest of the garden remained unaltered. In fact, I'm thinking, the Kyuubi growled dangerously. Then her body began to contort, and the humanoid form of Naruto seemed to pull herself out of the fox's body. His feminine doppelganger still wore the armored bikini she had created in the hidden sound village, and she stalked slowly towards the barrier. When she reached it, she carefully stuck her arm through, but there was no reaction. As I thought, both versions said in unison, the damage allows a small piece of me to move without triggering the seal. But just how small? The female construct's red eyes began to glow, and a tail of red chakra erupted behind her. Still nothing in the environment changed. She slowly drew in more power, creating a second tail, and then a third. At this point, there was another minor quake, and the spirit paused. Then she started to create a fourth tail, but the seal reacted. The smell of flour was replaced by the stink of the sewer, and the bars turned solid, and began to narrow the gaps between them. The Kyuubi quickly sent the energy back to her main body, reverting to two tails mode. Hinata's prison stabilized, though neither the smell nor the bars completely returned to what they had been before. With a nasty grin, the demon girl slipped between the rods, and addressed the stunned Naruto directly, and without her original form speaking. Looks like I finally get my shot at you, punk, the demon snarled happily, leaping for him with her clawed hands extended. At 3 a.m., the darkest part of the night, Temari, Kankuro, and Shikamaru moved amongst the others, waking them. The rescue party had found an indentation in the wall of the ravine, deep enough to almost qualify as a cave. They covered the entrance with their chameleon tarps, and took their rest before the assault. After they were all roused, the shinobi took a few brief minutes to awaken and prepare. So what's the plan? Kiba asked openly, seemingly resolved at last. They had finished taking down the makeshift camp, and were ready to deploy. Team Anko and the Sand siblings will take the north path, Hinata told them. Team Yugao, Kaidi, and Rock Lee will take the south path. Neji, Tenten, Sakura, and I will take the middle path. Try to stay hidden as long as you can. Remember, our goal is to rescue Naruto, not to fight the Akatsuki. Each shinobi indicated his or her understanding, and they split up as ordered. Hinata's team darted down the middle gully, sticking close to the wall despite the thick blanket of night. After the first few minutes of cautious advancement, Neji suddenly broke the silence. Hinata, may I ask how you determined these groups? He asked in a controlled whisper. I wanted to keep a certain balance, she replied just as quietly. I made sure each team had one of the 4 jonin. And since Sakura, Ino, and Shino are all fully qualified medical ninjas, I chose so that one of them was part of each group. Finally, except for Lee, I kept the squads together to preserve teamwork. Why did you send Lee with Sasam and the others? Tenten joined the conversation with her own query. Because I was worried about that team, Hinata admitted. Even after the break, Shino is somewhat tired from caring for the Baikotsu. Kiba did not want to be here in the first place. And Kaidi is too much of a mystery, in both her motives and her combat abilities. So I sent Lee to reinforce them. Shush. Sakura silenced them, as the outline of the battlement became visible due to the torches on top. Neji used his conflicting emotions to keep his expression neutral. He was impressed by Hinata's reasoning, but it also brought back memories of the deliberation of the council, not 3 full days prior, and the council's underestimation of Hinata. The jonin bottled his feelings, for the sake of the task at hand. Tenten was watching him, recognizing her lover's introspection. The lights moved away, and the leaf shinobi slipped silently forward towards the barricade. When they reached the base, they waited for the guards to move to the opposite side before they began scaling the wall, spider style. What the heck are you doing, you stupid fuzzball? Naruto shouted, falling away from his counterpart's chakra-wrapped fingers. He rolled to his feet, and hopped back as Naruto closed in again. This time she kept up with him, and the young man grabbed her hand, flipping the humanoid projection over his shoulder. The demoness was both faster and more flexible, and she twisted about in mid-air, slamming her left heel into the side of Naruto's head. I'm taking my chance, possibly my last chance, she sneered as he stumbled away. I have to kill you now, before the Akatsuki do. The human shinobi took the stance of the whipping willows, and dodged the demon's next two attacks. Won't you die too? Naruto demanded, as she caught his counterattack, cutting into his arm. He snatched his limb back, and tried to slip around her next kick, but her greater speed allowed her to clip him anyway, nearly knocking him down. Probably not, the Bayu in human form smirked. She hopped back, and began to sign. After all, I can destroy your mind and soul, but your body will live, she explained, in which case it becomes my body by inheritance. And if I'm wrong? Naruto shrugged with a mildly sad expression, and then completed her technique. Fire style, burning tails jutsu. The Bayu spun around and her two chakra tails lengthened and caught fire, lashing out at her host. Naruto was forced to abandon his defensive style, flipping backwards awkwardly to escape the attack. But the ignited extensions followed him. The right tail clipped his right elbow just before Naruto made it out of range. Cyclone spikes, Naruto crafted the jutsu without signing, and as a result only created 3 missiles. Naruto's tail battered him away dismissively. She charged in again, swiping quickly with her claws. He knocked her first attack away, but her second slash cutting through his shirt and the outer layer of his skin, drawing a small amount of blood. Shadow clone jutsu, Naruto tried to spawn duplicates, to buy some time, but nothing happened. The humanoid projection of the fox laughed at him. You can't create duplicates within your mind, she mocked him. You did, he countered. This body is not a shadow clone, it is a mental construct, she explained condescendingly, 2 completely different things. Kitsune, he tried to summon his staff blade, but the weapon did not appear either. He focused and called again, but still remained empty-handed. Same thing, she laughed, this is the world created by our minds and the seal that joins us. What's real won't necessarily work here, and vice versa. What in the world? The scientist paused in the extraction when the subject's weapon suddenly teleported on top of his chest. One of the assistants darted in and returned the staff blade to its previous position on the table in the corner. Rasengan, Naruto announced, and looked relieved when the sphere formed over his hand. His triumph was short-lived, however. Fuyuten, Rasengan, Naruto held up the wind orb, and charged him again. How can you do that? He groused, avoiding her attack, and missing her by a wide margin with his return strike. Anything you can do, I can do, she boasted. I know all your fighting styles, all of your ninjutsu. Unfortunately for you, the reverse does not apply. And on top of that, I have better mental focus and chakra control. She swung the Fuyuten, Rasengan down, and Naruto brought his own sphere to intercept. The fox's human face grinned smugly, knowing his Rasengan was no match for her enhanced orb. But at the last instant, the leaf warrior conjured a second chakra ball in his left hand, and caught her attack between both of his. Though the elemental jutsu would have easily overpowered one of its vanilla predecessors, the 2 plain Rasengans together and at different angles were enough to destabilize the Fuyuten, Rasengan. All 3 spheres exploded, but Naruto pushed forward, taking a handful of minor cut for the chance to land a knee to her gut, and then a backhand strike to her face. Naruto bounced away from him, but landed on her feet, scowling. Don't go thinking I'm some pushover, Naruto warned her, with more confidence in his voice than he felt in his heart. I'm the guy who outsmarted Zabuza and Neji. Noted, she hissed, charging forward in an erratic pattern, faster than she had been before. She struck at his left, and as he turned to defend, she circled around, too quick for him to follow. The Kyuubi slashed twice across his back, and Naruto allowed the force of her first blow to knock him away, so he was spared the worst of the second. As he rotated dully to face her, he realized his injuries were not healing like normal. He signed while moving back, activating the regeneration jutsu Tsunade had forced him to learn. The fox watched him, but did not move to interfere. You're causing this? He asked, some sort of jutsu, like Kabuto. Nothing so grand, she shook her head, I'm just withholding my power. No sense in healing you while I myself am trying to kill you. Naruto's eyes narrowed in annoyance, but also in thought. She's in two tails mode, he considered, which means she's at least half again as strong and fast as I am. And I don't have her power right now. I need to think of some way to even the playing field. Wait, think. That's it. Naruto held out his arm, and Naruto paused to stare at him in amusement. He focused his thoughts, and then called out again, but this time to create, not to summon. Kitsune, he proclaimed, and the demoness looked ready to laugh. But a shadow formed above his hand, becoming more solid and opaque, until the staff blade dropped into his waiting palm. Cute, she hissed, darting in. This time Naruto was able to block her blows, using the weapon's reach to help him negate her speed. In addition, while Naruto had been unable to stop her flame-wrapped claws with his bare hands, the same did not apply to the metal staff blade. The heat had no impact on Kitsune, allowing Naruto to fight with less fear. Like you said, this world is mental. Since I made Kitsune with ninjutsu, I crafted it with my mind in the first place. I will have to be more careful with my taunts, she groused, a lesson I should have learned the last time. She caught his downward stroke with her wrist, and though Naruto winced, there was not the breaking sound he was hoping for. He spun back for a horizontal slash, but he was still slowed by closing cuts in his back. The demoness was able to jump over the attack, while launching a roundhouse kick at his head. Uzumaki leaned back so her foot harmlessly passed over his head, but she shifted her body as if she expected this, and caught Kitsune's pole. She had almost freed the weapon from her container's grasp when he manifested the winged blade, forcing her to let go. As a result, both of them ended up off balance and they stumbled apart. When Naruto straightened, he found his gender-swapped duplicate beaming at him in vicious happiness. For a few minutes, I thought you were going to make this easy, she told him, her fingers and nails growing into even longer claws, and the lightning of Ranshinsho mingling with her fire chakra. But it looks like you are going to make this tough enough to be fun, but not enough to be a real threat, she continued, just the way I like it. Naruto frowned as he cinched his grip on the cerebral version of Kitsune, and then took the offensive. He lengthened and widened the blade further as he strode back into range, slicing back and forth wildly with a two-handed grip. She laughed at his poor form, but when she blocked his attack, Naruto quickly dropped the pretense of desperation and returned the blade to its regular size to slide past her defenses. She stopped what could have been a lethal blow at the last instant, closing her claws to pin the blade and twisting her torso. She still took a light cut to her uncovered left side. With the flat of the blade sandwiched between her palms, she kicked repeatedly at Naruto's knee. The human was forced to relinquish his blade, or be crippled. As he released Kitsune, the construct faded away. He limped away, barely able to stand, having held on for too long. He started to reform the weapon, but the Bayu charged in again, slashing with her left claw while quickly forming a basic Rasengan in her right hand. The human was forced to direct his attention towards keeping her at bay, while trying to heal the damage to his legs so he could both move and kick. Naruto's Rasengan came close enough to his nose that the air currents around it reddened Uzumaki's cheeks. Then her claw scored 4 deep, burning cut in his forearm when he blocked it. The Chunin launched a quick, feeble jab at her jaw, but had to divert his assault when she raised the spiraling sphere into his path. Sighing disappointedly, Naruto swept his legs, sending him plowing into the flowers. Withdrawing her chakra, so that her claws reverted to normal human fists, she kicked Naruto in the belly, to flip him over onto his back. She knelt on his shoulders, while her 2 chakra tails pinned his legs. Weak, she punched him in the face. Pathetic, her second strike bloodied his nose. Insignificant, her fist cracked his cheekbone. Human, her last blow dislodged one of his incisors, sending the tooth flying across the once idyllic field. But don't worry, she patted the less injured side of his face mockingly, I'm going to end it now. And I'll even do you another favor, I'll kill Madara for you. After all, he is as much the source of our conjoined misery as Minato was. Since I know he's here, he will be my first target, before I move on to my other plans for your body. Other plans, he echoed silently. Then he remembered the fox's threat to hunt down Hinata for putting the zodiac seal on them. The fox raised her left hand, once again forming it into a claw wrapped in fire chakra. Naruto dug his hands into the earth for leverage, and tried to dislodge her. But in the 2 tails form, her strength was too great, and Naruto smirked at his efforts. Give it up, she counseled, make it easier on both of us. If you do, I promise to make sure Hinata doesn't die, lonely. Naruto stopped struggling, but his fingers began moving, as the fox pointed her nails at his heart. As her hand started to descend for the final blow. Doton, Stone Spear's Jutsu. Uzumaki roared, completing his disconnected hand signs. The Kyuubi sprang away as spikes of rock erupted from the ground towards her, but she could not escape entirely. One of the spears took off the middle and ring fingers on her right hand, while another impaled her left leg. Her wounds were already regenerating when she landed, and the earthen jutsu dissolved, as Naruto unsteadily regained his feet. It was Hinata again, wasn't it? The demoness chided herself, but I suppose prolonging the fight a little isn't bad. Because you still can't beat me. I am stronger, I am faster, I have more chakra, and I still heal on my own. You have no shadow clones. I can beat your Rasengan with a stronger one, and you already used up your double teaming trick. So what will you do? Naruto glared at her helplessly, knowing she was right. She had seen all his crazy plans, not that he could think of one right now. She took half a step back, loosening her stance and grinning in amusement at his despair. She like a better version of me, Naruto told himself, I can't beat her. I can't do it without her power. And what? He paused, taking a good look around, and then he suddenly grinned. What? The demon demanded. Naruto ignored her, and began to sign. Tatsu, Inu, Tora, Ushi, Saru, Kitsune. At the sixth hand sign, Naruto's eyes widened in recognition. What are you playing at? She demanded nervously, that won't work. Kitsune. Naruto ignored her, ending his jutsu by repeating the unique hand seal for a fourth time, ninja art, Ascendant Fox Jutsu. Naruto changed as he had during the battle with the Blood Drinker demon, gaining a vulpine face, a thick pelt of yellow fur, and a single fox tail ripped through the back of his pants. The pain eased from his bright blue eyes as his regenerative powers returned. How? She hissed, crouching down to pounce. She leapt forward, but this time Naruto knocked her claw away with little effort. She struck again, but the team now matched his duplicate speed, and his fur was not even singed by her burning aura. It's not like I haven't stolen your power before, he reminded her, catching her wrist and then flipping her over his shoulder, not that I need to. You had me so wound up before, that I didn't notice. Even without you sending me your power, you were flooding it over here to support your splinter. All I had to do was take what you were offering. She growled again as she launched a series of rapid punches and kicks at his face and chest. He deflected them effortlessly, all while staring intently into her glowing red eyes. Her snarl increased with each blocked strike. She moved her right foot back, and positioned her right arm for full power right cross. But as her fist began to move forward, she opened her hand, hoping to catch him off guard. Fuyuten, Rasengan, she announced as her arm passed the halfway point. The deadly sphere was pushed towards Naruto's head with all the strength and speed she could muster. Fuyuten, Rasengan, he neutralized her attack with his own, almost lazily, and then in his other hand, Rasengan. Her body jerked wildly as the electrified sphere sparked and cut its way through her wrist. She darted back, leaving her hand behind, but already starting to grow a replacement. He's got the edge on me now, she grimaced. I could summon more power, but it might trigger the seal. Besides, he might be able to feed off that too. But I still have a few tricks he doesn't know. I'll just have to get him off balance, and finish him quickly. But her contemplation cost her, because unlike the demoness, Naruto was not one to toy with his opponents. And he knew there was no point in offering Naruto a chance to surrender. He gathered himself, and ran towards her. She noticed him coming just in time to catch his punch with both of her forearms. She felt her wrist bones crack, and she was pushed back by the force of the blow. She barely leaned away from the snap kick Naruto aimed at her chin. But as she fell, she was also signing. Kaiten, scorching kunai, she announced, and a half-dozen knives of fire sprang at Uzumaki. As the human dealt with the constructs, she continued to craft hand seals for a more powerful technique. Double art, magma river jutsu, she yelped as she hopped back twice. Fire and earth chakra combined, changing the ground into a stream of superheated liquid rock, quickly flowing towards the team. Naruto jumped to the side, but Naruto directed her right hand towards him, and the river of lava spread in his direction. The young man continued to dodge the spirit's attack, but she was pushing him towards the cage, with no safe place to escape. "Do you like my ultimate technique?" she asked, mockingly. Naruto's back was nearly pressed against the cage, and the molten earth was closing in. He could feel the heat, and knew that if this were real, he would be having trouble breathing. "Goodbye." Naruto waved with her left hand, while directing the magma to surge over him with her right. Naruto jumped straight up, and she laughed at his weak response. Until he raised his right hand above his head, and a sphere of silver chakra began to form over it. The orb grew, and then flattened. "No, you can't," she screamed, even as Naruto reached the apex of his jump, and started to fall towards the lava. "Fuuton, The disc hurtled towards her, and by the time she ended her jutsu and was able to try to dodge, it was too late. The technique engulfed Naruto, shredding her mental body. "How?" she croaked, as the energy creating her limbs broke apart. "It wasn't that hard," he said gently, as the ground started to harden underneath him. "This form unifies our chakra, which is why I can form the Fuuton or Raiten Rasengan without clones. I have more power and less meddling from you. On top of that, this mental world lacks many of the drawbacks of the real world." The last few hairs that the fox had used to form her duplicate drifted down, finally free of the Raisin Shuriken's field. Naruto landed in the filthy water, back in his normal form. The destruction had eliminated the last of the garden. With her shadow's destruction, the fox had stopped broadcasting her energy. Without free access to her chakra, Naruto had become unable to hold on to his vulpine transformation. He turned to face the bars with a triumphant grin, but the demoness was not looking at him. Instead of the giant shadow he had always seen before in the fourth's prison, the fox retained the smaller, definite shape she had worn in the garden. She faced away from him, ignoring petulantly. "Sore loser," he called out, mildly annoyed. "You didn't win," she growled back. "You're still going to die, and I will still be returned to Madara's domination." Neji placed the body of the last sentinel next to the other four, and then Tenten activated a ninjutsu that caused the stone rampart to absorb the corpses. Hinata moved to the inner edge of the wall, using her Byakugan to search the dim for any guards on the ground below them. Seeing no one on the inside of the fortification, she signaled her teammates. The four teenage warriors slid down the inside of the wall, landing on the dry riverbed in nearly silent puffs of dust. The quartet paused to make sure they had not been noticed, and then darted forward. Before they had covered half of a mile into the widening gully, the electric lamps high on the walls burst to life, illuminating the canyon like the noonday sun. The leaf ninjas were all blinded by the sudden, intense light. They turned towards a crunching noise that approached them, taking defensive positions and blinking to clear their eyes. By the time their vision had recovered, part of the glare had been blocked by the shadow of the 70-foot-long feline, stalking slowly towards them, ready to pounce. Due to the presence of Akamaru, and to a degree Rock Lee, the southern team was unable to simply climb over the wall. Instead, Kaidi had distracted the ground-level guards, convincing them to open the gate so she could enter. As soon as she did, Lee and Sasam rushed in, and disabled the Akatsuki minions. The rescue team raced through the bastion before they were noticed. After they were past the wall and well on their way down the ravine, they heard the doors slam shut, and the portcullis descend. "What smells like swamp?" Kiba whispered as they tensed for an ambush. He received his answer when lights flared to life in canyon, revealing a turtle even larger than the one they had ridden on the previous morning. Except this reptile had three whip-like tails lashing excitedly behind it. "Do you remember the original plan?" Tobi asked Deidara. Original plan. The artist wasn't sure what his partner was talking about. "We were capturing the tailed beast to use directly," Tobi reminded, "not this nonsense about using their chakra for a massive jutsu. No, we were supposed to turn the Bayu loose on our enemies, controlling the beasts while making it look like a natural disaster. That way we could kill our foes, and gain goodwill and money by stepping in to fix the problem. A much more reasonable plan, wouldn't you say?" "Tobi, you're not. I'm going to kill two birds with one stone," the masked warrior answered smoothly. He held up three simple, silver amulets, each with a different large, fancy-cut gemstone. These pendants can partially extract one-tailed beast from the demon god statue. The monster's spirit and about 60% of its chakra will be in the pendant. The wearer will be able to manifest and control the demon. But at the same time, enough of the demon will remain in the statue to maintain the power balance that prevents the others from breaking free. He looked directly at Deodara, even though his partner could not see the manic glee in his black eyes. I will take out the 1, 2, and 3 tails, and entrust them to the candidates to replace Hidden, Kakazu, and Itachi, Tobi explained. If they can handle the beasts and slaughter Naruto's friends, they will prove their worth. And at the same time, we will show the 5 great villages what happens when they try to attack us. Kankuro looked up at the giant tanuki of sand, towering over them, and only one thought occurred to him. Oh shit. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.